What's up, everyone? My name is Will Chow, and this is Will's Personal Development Show podcast, coming to you live from Will Chow's room, and from willyoulaugh.com. That's Will, WILLYOULAUGH.com. Today, we're going to be talking about how to take life less seriously and why you should take life too seriously, or why you shouldn't take life not seriously at all, and why the secret is a healthy in-between. We're going to have real case studies here, real stories. We're going to break down the healthy medium, the consequences of goofing off too much and taking life not serious enough, and vice versa, the consequences of taking life too seriously. This is a question sent in by a email subscriber to my VIP email newsletter. You can join for free, and that's where I give some of my best tips every week. There's email opt-ins on my website if you want to join that. But let's just take a crack at this question. I think this is a really deep question. It's a question I've thought about for years and years, and I think it's probably one of the best questions when you look at life success in terms of if your goal is to live longer. And I think most people have some goal to live as long as they can because they enjoy life. And when you have more time, you can use that time to make more money, do more of what you enjoy, have a healthier life, make more of an impact, whatever. So I think in terms of longevity, it's also important, but also in terms of not making horrendous decisions based off of emotion that can negatively affect your family, risk your life, cause you to die early, or just cause a lot of unnecessary heartache. But there's also the flip side. I think there's a lot of people who argue that you should take life not seriously at all. And I think there's a extreme to that does not work. I think, as the billionaire Charlie Munger says, most extremes are wrong. So another thing, I'm going to try and do this podcast in under 20 minutes. And the reason is because I think, although I could, talk about this and rant about this for an hour, I believe that a lot of people just want straight up value, and many pieces of content, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube video, a lot of them just ramble. And, some people, they like the rambling because it's entertaining. They like their personalities and stuff like that. But sometimes people just want value and they don't want you to just ramble. So I'm going to condense everything down to 20 minutes, just give you the facts. And, there's going to be no BS going on. So let's just get started here. I think most people understand the reasons why you shouldn't take life too seriously. So we'll cover those second. I'm going to start with consequences of not taking life seriously enough. So I don't think the other extreme of not taking anything in life seriously is the answer. And so, my email subscriber wrote in and says, how can I take life less seriously? Well, that doesn't mean you should take nothing seriously at all. I've met people who take this to too much of an extreme. Their philosophy is that you should take nothing in life seriously at all because all that matters is your family or happiness or just being alive, and everything else is just going to be okay because you're still going to be alive. You're not suffering. You're not dying from hunger. And I think 90% of what was said here in general is very good. It's profound. It's very wise to understand this on a certain level and implement it in your life. Shows maturity, but there's some issues with this where you take it too far. I think you shouldn't take this too far because think about it this way. If you're too chill in life, you're not going to get anywhere. One person I met back when I was working in the food and hospitality industry as a waiter, this one guy was just so chill. And I remember he didn't care about anything. He did not hustle at work. And so he was always the guy who just kind of relaxed and didn't do anything and slacked off and found every moment to kind of just waste time and not do any work. And of course, that doesn't lead you to, getting a raise, making more money, being seen as someone who is hardworking and successful, and will lead you to more wealth and stuff later in life, which will lead to more suffering later in life. And I remember, at the time, making a remark admiring him for how chill he was. And I mentioned it to another coworker, and he was a good friend of this guy, and I was like, man, he's so chill. I kind of like that. And he's like, but he's too chill. He's not gonna get anywhere in life by being so chill. And I thought about that for a while. Here's another story to kind of get this into your head. I was at BJ's, which is kind of like Costco. It's a giant discount food and grocery store, and this was very recently. I was there on Saturday, so they had all these samples, and they're passing out food. And one of the people serving samples looked like she was 90 years of age. She was so old. There's wrinkles everywhere. Her hair was white, and every movement was a struggle for her. She was serving just potato chips, and her hand was shaking, and it was just difficult for her to get the chips out of the bag and into a cup. And it just got me wondering. I started feeling emotions of pity and a little bit of compassion, and also fear, like, why is she here? Why is she still working? How come she's working this job? I hope that doesn't happen to me. Thank God I plan for my future, and I know about saving and investing. And of course, I did a podcast on how to save and invest your money for beginners. But the big point I want to get across is that with this story, I just started thinking, like, if there's so many people, young people nowadays, and it's more tempting than ever before in history for young people to just take it easy. And not to say that there is any shortage of hard workers or smart people, but in comparison to most people, they're in short supply, and they don't think about the future. So they don't save for retirement. They don't take this seriously, and they just live life like it's all fun and games, and they just spend paycheck to paycheck, and they have fun. And if they go into debt or they have no money, it doesn't matter. It's carefree. They can get another job as long as they're happy and free. That's how they live life. They don't take life seriously at all. And it seems all fine and dandy now because they're young and they seem invincible. And they're beautiful. They're young, so they have no injuries or illnesses. They don't even think into the future about what would happen when they get old and their looks start fading and their health starts fading and their physical ability starts deteriorating, and they haven't every day built skills and learned and grew so that they have value that they can contribute to make more money and retire and not have to worry about the next paycheck or what will happen to their family or how to get their children to have a good education. All these things, they don't think ahead, and they just think, oh, it's all fine and dandy. And I disagree with this philosophy. It angers me as well when I think about this. And sometimes you can't argue with these types of people because they have their own ways. Some of them I know. Some of them are people I know who are friends or family, and you just have to kind of, unless they are ready to change or look at another perspective, they will close off their mind, and they will learn later in life when they're older, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, and all of a sudden something happens. I think this is a huge potential danger for women as well as men, if not more so. With women, especially social media influencers, Instagram models, biologically, it's set up so that you reach your youthful, fertile peak when you're still super young. Like, given the fact that you may have the ability to live until you're 100 years old, many women they peak in terms of beauty and, their social media followings and all this other stuff. And sometimes their career in the entertainment industry when they're only 21 or 22. And so by getting that much success at a young age, they get arrogant. They think they're invincible. They think, success is easy. And sometimes they don't even think about the future. So they spend all the money they make paycheck to paycheck. And by the time their looks start declining and their job as a supermodel or influencer starts waning, and their looks start fading and their sponsorship deals start deteriorating, they don't have anything else set up. And, I've seen this, and sometimes I'll give the benefit of the doubt, but then when you dig into it, you're like, oh, wow, they really don't have much of a plan. If they do, it's not a great plan. I saw this one vlog where one of these, influencers, she was like, yeah, I think I'm going to become a nurse once this starts fading. And I was like, okay, that's better than most of them because at least she has some plan and she's kind of studying to become one, but still not much of a plan. So I think that's incredibly important, and it's not all hope is lost. I think Kathy Ireland is a great example of a woman who leveraged her supermodel stardom and built a business empire selling socks. So she was smart about it and she came out ahead. So there's an Indian billionaire. He's the richest person in India. And I was watching some YouTube interviews of this guy. And, one thing he said really stuck with me for many years. And it was, we take our business successfully, but not our lives. So I think that's a very interesting way of looking at it. It really reminds me of another billionaire, Richard Branson, who really does it right. He really makes the business fun for him and his employees. He doesn't take himself too seriously, but he still takes the business seriously enough to a minimum to be able to, account for profit and losses and all that other stuff. But he still injects so much fun and enjoyment into his work, because if work's not fun, what's the point? So, consequences of taking life too seriously. Well, what happens if you take life too seriously? Well, you make every day worse, including your life and anyone else you interact with. You're spreading negative energy because you're blowing up at small things and, just getting a really nasty attitude or feeling unhappy because something didn't go your way. And it's just a bad feeling. And then you're losing sight of any benefits you get from something you're doing. So you lose sight of a bigger picture. So there's plenty of real world examples I can think of. Let's say, I've been getting into CrossFit lately. So an example in the CrossFit world would be, you sign up for the CrossFit Games Open competition, even though you're a complete beginner, and you just blow up at the judge, because he made a tiny judgment that, you disagree with on your scoring, and you become very cold and negative, and you ruin his day and you ruin your own day. And, you just argue with him in a very, vehement, violent, toxic way. And you get worked up over this small thing. And it's even more ridiculous because you forgot that you're just a beginner. You're just doing this for fun, or you're trying to improve your fitness. And you forget that the judge was a volunteer doing this for, out of benefit of his own heart. And, you forget why you're doing this. So maybe you only signed up to show off your score on Facebook, or to get more fit, or to make more friends, or have fun. And you lose sight of that. And now you've blown all those goals out of the water because you're so focused on the competition aspect of it and getting the best score. And so was that even worth it? That tiny extra score, was that worth, all this stuff? Does that actually help improve your fitness if you're debating about the judge about how another human scores this thing? That has no effect on the stress on your muscles. And of course, you're not making any friends by pissing off this one guy who was willing to help you judge. And so you can kind of get the point. You lose sight of all your goals, And, even if you post that on Facebook and show off, what's the benefit? You get some random strangers or acquaintances to like your post and maybe, think of you a little bit better, even though that tiny extra score cost you all this stress and anger and perhaps may not be indicative of your true fitness level. So you can kind of see that's one example in the sporting realm. There's plenty of others, and this happens all the time. Another would be if you just get enraged at a business deal, or you're losing at a video game, or you burst out in road rage because a car in front of you is driving a bit too slow for your liking. And so much so that you hurt people, you ruin relationships, you fight, you add stress that ruins your health, and lowers your life expectancy, or you risk your own life in the form of a car crash by trying to drive ahead and pass someone and cut someone off in a very hectic, congested traffic, situation. So it's basically about getting caught up in the moment and forgetting the bigger picture, and in the process, hurting you and yourself, in the process. And there's definitely some science and real world case studies to back this up. If you look at the book, 50 Secrets of the Longest Living People, surprise, surprise, they studied all these cultures of the longest living people, and the ones who lived the longest were super, they didn't take life too seriously. Even when life dealt them really tough blows like bankruptcy, the economy crashing, and so forth, they didn't stress out so much that they didn't really stress out much at all. They took it in stride and they didn't sweat this stuff. They just, dealt with it, and they were fairly chill. And that probably led to less stress, which extends your lifespan. So I think that's really cool. I think that level of not taking life too seriously is really beneficial for your longevity. I think one person that understands this fairly well is, Gary Vaynerchuk. So he's talked about this in plenty of his vlogs and other content, but his main premise is that unless a family member is dying, anything, including like big business deals that cost him hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, nothing compared to the only thing that matters. And that really frees up his stress levels. It also clears his mind, his focus, his energy. And when business or life gives him tough blows, he rolls with the punches very much better. So again, I can talk about this for a while, but check out my articles on my blog, willyoulaugh.com. I wrote an article on the science of happiness that really goes into thorough depth about a concept called hedonic adaptation and how, after a certain point, money doesn't really make you happier. So, keep that in mind. What do you care about most? So in conclusion, it's all about magic layer in between. The secret is an in between not taking life too seriously, but not taking anything too loosely or chill either. And to be more specific as to how to carry this out, there's a bare minimum of not taking life too seriously that I try and incorporate. So I try and stay focused and concentrated so I don't waste time and get off track. And I try and speak up in meetings, but in a polite way. I try to prepare and arrive early. I try to plan short-term and long-term goals to maximize my life and account for risks. I also stay attentive and listen when someone's talking or teaching so that I learn and grow rather than just goof off. And I wasn't always this way. One time it almost cost me a blown out eardrum because my mind wandered and I missed it when the scuba diving instructor told me to blow out of my nose to equalize the air pressure. So it just takes time and practice. But then when life doesn't end how you expect it to, you don't stress out. You don't take life too seriously. You don't risk your life. You don't spread negativity or argue or burst out in anger or, stress out when something happens or others bring you down or negative events happen. Don't sweat the small stuff, whether it's a competition, a sport, a business argument, toxic people, family arguments, getting impatient, unexpected bad events, and so forth. And it's all about just mindfully keep trying, and you'll suck at it at first, but if you keep trying and keep paying attention and just constantly reminding yourself. Over the years, you will get better at it. Just like mindfulness meditation, it just takes consistent practice over a long period of time to get better, and forgive your mistakes, because it will help you in the long run. And we all struggle at it at first, even me. So hopefully this helped. Thanks so much for listening.